I am very excited to talk about this because we do a lot of stuff on this show about all the crazy shit that's in our foods, all the whacked out chemicals that are in yoga mats that you're eating and pink slime and everything else. And every time we do one of these stories, the comment section go crazy and they yell at me and they say I'm anti-science because I'm even bringing this up and it's in there and it's not going to kill you. That seems to be a general theme. I think it's weird that we eat beaver anal gland juice is vanilla flavoring. I think that's weird. It may not kill me. I just think it's odd that someone was squeezing a beaver's anus and thought, this tastes good. Okay. So I wanted to bring on two people that understand a little more about science than I do and break some of this stuff down, because you might have heard this week that Coca-Cola has announced that it's not going to use brominated vegetable oil or BVO in soft drinks such as Fanta, Fresca, and Powerade anymore. And this comes after a lot of people were talking online about how BVO is related to compounds that are found in fire retardants. So let's look at a little more info on BVO. It contains the chemical bromine, which is also found in fire retardants, as I just said. Small quantities of BVO are legally allowed in some drinks to ensure even flavor distribution. According to the Center for Science in the Public Interest, BVO is a poorly tested and possibly dangerous food additive, and there's no reason to use it in Gatorade or other drinks. So before we get to the next thing, I want to stop there for a second, because as I said, when we do this, everyone yells at me and they say, well, if you don't eat a ton of it, you'll be okay. We put chemicals in our body all the time, and everything has chemicals, and the ink is getting chemicals, and
and you're made of chemicals.
And you're made of chemicals, and all of that, right,
yeah.
All of that. So can you guys give me just sort of a basic break, something? Can you give me something to kick this conversation off?
So I'll start by saying that I think that the people in the comment section, there's a lot of validity to what they're saying, because there is, especially in liberal media, there is kind of a quick tick to immediately be afraid of anything that a corporation produces.
Absolutely.
And immediately be afraid of words like molecule and chemical and,
right.
and you know, and all of a sudden it sounds dangerous. We have this debate all the time with genetically modified organisms. We have this debate with, you know, preservatives, food additives, whatever.
Yeah.
So there is a reason to kind of stop, sit back, and think about this rationally.
Okay, I'm on board so far.
So we'll start there.
Okay.
Now, I personally don't know much about BVO as a food additive.
Yeah.
But when organizations that are there to protect the public interest do their research and do their due diligence and say, okay, we don't know much about this. There are many nations that have banned it. Now, that's not reason enough for us to. But here's the clincher for me. There's no reason for it to be there, because you can have the same effect if you use something that's been proven to be safe.
Right.
Why aren't we using the thing that's been proven to be safe?
Cara, do you think it might have something to do with money?
Yeah.
Do you think possibly it could be a financial decision?
Probably. And this is the cool thing, I think, about living in the internet age, is that if enough people get wind of an issue and write a petition and get loud about it and say, I'm not going to buy your product anymore because I'm afraid of this one thing that you're using in it that I don't think has been clearly tested and I'm not sure about the health benefits of it, we'll just stop buying Coca-Cola products. Coca-Cola has to respond. They see a drop in profits.
Right, and then make their product better. Even if it's not killing us, they can make it more natural.
And
that's probably basic. Is it fair to say that things that are natural are basically good? And I don't want to get into the economic argument yet.
Everything is natural.
Yeah.
Everything.
Oh, great.
If it occurs
Even
in
the
nature,
artificial stuff?
Yeah, it occurs in nature. It's natural. I hate to be that nitpicky, but I know that everybody's going to say
that.
that.
No, please.
No, but I mean, it's true. And the thing is, it's good to find things that you think are unhealthy, point them out, and replace them with something that's better, especially if that thing that's better is available. I don't know why, like you said, we're not already using that to begin with. But
money.
But there's a lot of people out there who like to think about these things, and they freak out about it because they want to be like, I'm health conscious. I'm gonna take this initiative and do better with this issue. But they're ignoring everything else. Like they're ignoring the ammonia that people use to disinfect meat. They're ignoring all the hormones in meat too.
You know?
I mean, there's just so many things out there that are exponentially worse that nobody cares about, but they hop onto this one issue and feel better about themselves as a whole because they're taking care of one tiny little detail.
Okay, so just to talk about the pink slime for 1 second, because it gets everybody nuts, and we've done a couple of videos on it. So basically, they're taking the worst of the worst meat, stuff literally that's falling on the floor. Then they pile it all together. They wash it with ammonia. You were not kidding. They wash it with ammonia to kill all the
E. coli
horrible stuff that's on there. And then we eat it, and it is edible. It is human. Before they do that process, it's not even fit for human consumption, the meat. Yeah. And then it is. But when we've done videos on that, even then people say, well, they've done what they're supposed to do, so it's okay. But you would not agree with that.
No, I wouldn't eat stuff that was washed with bleach either. I mean, it doesn't matter what they've done to it to disinfect it. It's still really unhealthy, not to mention all the hormones and stuff that you find in meat.
Right.
It's just,
I mean,
really bad for you.
I take a really nuanced approach to, like, specifically if we're talking about pink slime, because let's say that I am living in the inner city and I don't have the monetary means to eat at Whole Foods, and I don't have the means to grow my own food. I mean, hopefully, I like the idea of getting back to a slow food movement. I like the idea of getting back to, once you can get to the source of your food, if there's fewer steps that it takes before that makes it to your mouth, it's more likely, I think, generally speaking, I'm not going to say as a rule, but generally speaking, it's more likely that that food will be healthier, the less processed it gets. The more processed it gets, the more we get into this conversation about food that weirdly, kind of paradoxically, makes us obese, but also makes us malnourished. And that's a huge problem in this country specifically, but also it's going into other Western nations. So when you say, if something's more natural, it's probably better for you. That's bullshit, because like you can't eat shit.
This is
like
why I brought you on the show.
Yeah, like you can't just like go out and eat some cow shit. Like that's natural.
Cocaine is natural.
And it'll make you really sick.
Cow shit, though.
You can.
Yeah.
There are certain things that we talk about that first step are horribly dangerous. You know, there's toxic things all over the place in nature, and chemists have been able to extract things and to add things together in such a way that they take natural ingredients and make powerful drugs out of them and make powerful substances and make food, use food science to make things that taste better and that are whatever. And so I think the issue is, as you always like to say, and this is an important point, follow the money. Like, what is the goal here? Is the goal feeding people and feeding them nutritious food, or is the goal, you know, a multinational corporation's profit motive? Coca-Cola, and I'm the first to admit, I love Coca-Cola and I drink it fucking every day. It's like my biggest vice. It's horrible for you. That's the problem.
We had lunch. You had a big ass Coca-Cola.
I drink
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
I mean, it was a big one.
I do all the time. It's like I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. That's my vice. Like that is my vice. But it's not good for you. Like, in no sense of the term is drinking a Coke something that you need for like basic nutrition.
Wait, high fructose corn syrup's not good for you?
It's
My
not
notes
healthy.
are completely screwy.
It causes all sorts of health problems, like liver problems and diabetes. Like, your body shouldn't take in that much sugar. So what we're talking about here is, are these corporations making decisions in the best interest of your health? Probably not. They're probably making decisions in the best interest of their profits, as you mentioned. So we need legislation, we need regulation that protects the consumer. But we also shouldn't be so trigger happy that every time we hear the word chemical, it makes us shake in our boots, because everything is made of chemicals.
Everything's made of chemicals. Okay, so speaking of the corporation, so the big thing that kicked this off a couple months ago was the Subway thing that we've alluded to. And the chemical that is in the bread, or was in the bread because they've now taken it out, is called ADA. And let's get some more info about ADA. Its primary use is in plastic and rubber products like yoga mats and flip-flops, where it's used to make them softer and more stretchy. So if you wonder why the bread at Subway is so fluffy and stretchy, you think maybe it has something to do with that? Many bread products often contain ADA, which is used to make dough more elastic, and ADA is known to increase the risk of asthma, allergies, and skin problems. And we've got a bunch of foods that actually contain ADA. McDonald's buns, Chick-fil-A sandwiches, Burger King buns, Dunkin' Donuts, Wendy's bread, Arby's, Jack in the Box, Carl J. I mean, everything. Pretty much everything. I don't see In-N-Out on there, which is nice. So how should we fear this? Because this one seems a little more close to home to me, because you can sort of like really tangibly see why the breads, you know what I mean? You get bread, if you get regular, you go to a bakery and get a bread, it's not as fluffy and stretchy. So there is some connection between the rubbery feeling of a yoga mat and this bread. So can I at least make that jump?
Well,
Can you guys
let's
give me
first
that?
separate in our minds, like, just because it has one component doesn't mean we're eating yoga mats. Like, I think that is the thing we immediately jump to. Is like, okay, this chemical is found in these two products, so therefore these two products are the same thing. And so, no, we are not eating yoga mats. Like, let's get that clear. We have
But can
no
I at least make that jump a little bit more with this one?
We don't know if those quantities there were harmful. I don't think there's enough research. But again, if you can make it without the damn thing,
Yeah.
And there's even a chance that it's more healthy for the consumer, then there you go. That's a great idea. I mean, why not? And I do like that the power of the consumer's collective voice made a change for Subway, because Subway tries to tout themselves as a more healthy alternative, and they don't want to have things in their food that are going to make health conscious consumers turn away. But if you're really that concerned about it, the first option would be
Don't eat fast food.
Just
Yeah,
don't eat fast food. Is that, at the end of the day, final thought on this? I mean, is that really the end? That, like, if you can at least get that out?
That's what I've been thinking this whole time. Like, I don't want to say you shouldn't fix a problem that exists, because if you can use something healthier, then use it. But at the same time, you're freaking out over one chemical whenever you're eating a McDonald's hamburger. Like, think about what you're eating and how gross it is and all the crap that's in there, and you're freaking out about ADA. Like, it just seems a little bit.
And also, I know that people will make the economic argument that you talked about before, and they'll say they don't have access to this other food and things of that nature. But I do think that, you know, you could buy a can of tuna for $1.50, and yes, you'll probably die of mercury poisoning, as my mom reminds me all the time. But like, there are some cheaper ways to eat things, and I know it's not as quick as McDonald's, but there are ways. So it's not totally tied into
when the deck is stacked against you, my advice is never throw up your hands and just give up, right? Yes, this deck is stacked against you, and unfortunately, you're going to see people in certain economic situations having less options, and it's going to be harder to make healthy decisions. And so yes, that fucking sucks, and it's unfair. And I think we should be pushing to have more healthy grocery options in lower income neighborhoods. I'm not saying that the option or the best option is just fucking eat McDonald's and cry about it. Like, obviously, fast food is not healthy. Like, point blank, it's just not healthy to eat fast food. And as you said, why are we nitpicking about this one thing when there's a million other reasons that fast food is not healthy? Yes, opt for healthier options, but let's all keep in mind, as we're sitting here in our comfy chairs in West Hollywood, that some people don't have the options that we have. So we should at least maintain perspective about that.
Technically, we're in Culver City, which is
not
quite as nice as West Hollywood.
I didn't know if people would know that. I tried to use something that they could reference.